Hello and welcome to Plugging Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Last time on Plugging Along, we added most of the new Farmers Faire barter items to the Festival Buddy 2 barter window. And then I finish it off after the stream. I think I didn't get it all done on the stream, but I have gotten it done now. Today we're going to look at a few other improvements we can make to Festival Buddy 2 before putting out a release. The first is something Little Redhead mentioned on her stream. The alert message system needs improvement. It's designed as a singleton. It will show you either 0 or 1 message, and if a new one comes in, it overwrites whatever is currently being displayed. And for some festivals, like Anniversary, it doesn't matter so much if you're doing the fireworks. But for Farmers Faire, when you can have multiple conflicting ones at the same time, it kind of shows some issues with that. So we want to start by designing a replacement system that at least lets us show more than one message. We could even go something fancier, like having a window that lets you see an arbitrary number of historical messages. That might be overkill for our purpose. So I think definitely we're going to start by being able to display more than one message at a time and see how that goes. So as always, feel free to jump into chat with your thoughts and questions. And in the meantime, it looks like this goose has a quest for us, so let us get started with that. Of course, it does not. There's a hobbit standing behind it. Okay, so it was mentioned on Little Redhead's stream that if you are a redline minstrel and you go fishing, your glowy hands interact with the fishing rod. So I figure, what better time to go succeed at fishy, very fishy than when I'm on stream. So we're going to go ahead and run over to somewhere more secluded so that the fish aren't scared away by a bunch of noisy hobbits. I have hope. And we'll get started. Yeah, how about over here? Okay, so if you don't already have it bound to a shortcut somewhere, I do recommend that when you're fishing. I don't really like using the hobby interface window for this. Oops. Actually, maybe you can't even interact with that. Okay, you got to drag it somewhere. So I have dragged it to my one button here on my secondary bar. And as we can see, I am indeed holding that with super glowy hands. Oh, and in chat, Skagosi is here. Hello, I hear you are online. I'm on Treebeard right now, though, so. All right, we got an easy fish. It was so easy. We just need to do 9 more of those, and then we're done with this part of the quest. If you haven't tried Fishy Very Fishy, you should. It's very fishy. Okay, number 2. Let's see. No, that was a bad fish. My luck is ruined for the day. Fortunately, at 3:01 server time, my luck is 100% replenished. All right, no, not that one. We're going to just store our instrument, or our pole, in the instruments bucket, and we are good. So that was, that was Flaubert Chubb's Fishy Very Fishy. If I really wanted to, for 5 Mythril coin, I could give it another try, but I don't. So I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to place myself nearer to where we're actually going to be working. However, I don't want to have a quest. I don't want to have to rely on a quest in order to trigger an alert message. So what I want to do while thinking about what we're doing today, let's go ahead and first load the Festival Buddy window. Little Redhead was showing this off, I think, a little bit on her stream, but we have the window, and if you are following a quest, then let's see. I need to change it to Farmers Faire, otherwise I won't find what I'm looking for. So Bounder rounds, if we have this open, I think all we have to do is have it open. Aha, there we go. We see ha ha ha. So we could see that, but we are reliant on a nearby hobbit saying something. So what we want to do is, instead of having an active quest going to change to a different one to clear the active quest. I want to go ahead and come into the options. And if we don't already have it, I want to add an ability to trigger a message. Okay, so anything that's debug is going to be in this blue section. So this doesn't show up for a regular user unless you go into the code and turn debug options on. And within this section, I want to add a place for us to test the messaging system. I want to say off the top of my head that in Festival Buddy it's called alerts, but we shall see. Okay, so to do this, we're going to go ahead and bring up the code, and once again, we're using Visual Studio Code, a free tool available, and with an Lua extension and with the LOTRO API extension, it definitely understands how we write plugins for LOTRO. Okay, so allow more than one message on screen. Perfect. All right, so what are we looking for? Alt, barter, win, commands. I'm not seeing a thing that makes me think the alert system. So we're going to go ahead and close some of these. Let's do a quick search. Alert. That's fascinating. There's a cancellation token. That seems like something I would have written. Okay, so there's a function called alert. How? Alert.lua. How did I miss this? Where is this? It's in libraries. Okay. Well, this is by Galahad, the same author of the plugin. Okay. Now I'm wondering if this was available. Or if this was just a commonly used library file. So I'm just searching on LOTROinterface.com. I searched the word alert. We have LOTRO alerts by Garen, friend alert, Thurlor, alerter fireworks add-on, and something else that's not this. Oh, that's funny. Huh. Yeah, Garther points out what I was just reading there, which is the alerter fireworks add-on has been superseded by GenOut. Which I'm just looking at. Cool. Okay, so this has no relation, and that's fine. So what we have here is a class, alert, and it creates an alert window, a short message displayed in the center of the screen to inform the user of something. And we can see how it's called. You pass it a string message that you want to be displayed, for how long you want it to show for, whether or not we should show how much time is remaining, a callback that should be called once the thing is expired, and a way to make it go away early in case we want to. And we can see that being used with this cancel alert function, which was to say when you, if you turn in a quest related to that, we should probably cancel any alert we're showing about it. Now that did assume that you didn't have multiple quests going at one time, which is perhaps its own problem. Okay, so we can see with this alert cancellation token, we only have one of those, so we already have a situation where, because there was only one alert possible when I was adding the cancellation token, I only added the idea of a single global cancellation token. But let's come in and see how alerts work a little. Well, no, sorry. We have a way of invoking this. Let's go ahead and add a section to our debug options. Lets us basically do the same things here. We're probably not going to worry about a callback. I don't think we have a sensible way of dealing with that. But a string that we can show, seconds, how long it should be there, whether or not we should show the remaining time, we can go ahead and do something about those. And you know what? We could even have a cancel button for that alert so we can see what happens when we make it go away. So all of that is done in the options window. So we're going to go ahead and pop that open. Really? What did I just replace? Oh, Visual Studio Code. I don't like that. It's in chat. It has this thing where if you click on a file or otherwise sort of soft interact with it, the name of the file is in italics up here, and it's kind of a temporary thing. If I click on something else, it'll replace that. And it lets you get a quick preview of a file before kind of committing to having it open. And you can double click the file to make it be a more permanent idea, or you can probably right click it and do something, keep open, Control K, enter. Oh my goodness. That is not a keyboard shortcut that I currently know. So I will tend to double click the item in the file browser on the left here. And that converts it from a kind of a temporary view to a keep open view. However, if you don't realize that it was in that soft open mode, you can just lose it. Okay, in the options window, what we want to do is go ahead and figure out what's going on. We have the draw options. We do all the normal stuff, and if we're not showing the debug options, then we exit there. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and do other things. So, we're going to go ahead and say the alert y equals the fatmayor y plus however big this is. Now, other thing that I'm not doing very well right now, but what we should do is getting a sense of how tall these sections are from the constructor themselves instead of just pre-calculating how tall it is. So instead of defining that there and continuing the problem, we're going to go ahead and just make a new function, draw alert debug, which is going to be debug options with a y. And so we can go ahead and find this function. And yeah, we can go ahead and put it right after there. Function draw alert debug, and that's going to be the options, and it's also going to be the y. Okay. Y equals, so we want to return the height of the space after that. What's up that? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so we're getting back something. And we can go ahead and annotate this now. Command, draw a section to allow testing of the alert functionality. Okay, options is going to be a control. Y is just going to be a number, and we're going to return a number. And we might get more specific. We know set height. Nope, we're looking for a number. So knowing that y is a number, that's fine. What's up? You woke up, little one?
I had fish.
Oh, little redhead has fish. Had fish. You missed your chance? It's very sad. But there's no more fish ever coming. Okay. So what we want to do is just draw something to make sure we're on the right path. So what we want to do is say local test equals turbine.ui.control. And this is just going to have a set back color of turbine.ui dot color dot, what's a good color? Lemon chiffon. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we parent this. Set parent options, and we want to say test set top to be y. And then we want to go ahead and say y equals y plus the test get height, and we're good to go. Because this will have some inherent height, and we want to make sure that's included here. F3 in chat asks, is there a reason why we do not have a button to unload only one single plugin instead of all of them? Or is there a way I'm missing it? So, first part of the question, yes, there is a reason, and it involves a little bit of the underpinnings of how Lua works. So we'll circle back around to that. Second, there is a way to unload some plugins specifically. If you go into the game and you type slash, oh, don't think you can see that. Yep. So if you type slash plugins space list, then into your standard channel, wherever that happens to be, I've got a little tab here called plugins, which has standard going into it. You're going to get a list of plugins, and any plugin that's loaded is going to have up to 3 things here. It's going to have the name of the plugin, the version, and this is an arbitrary thing. It doesn't have to be a number like this, though a lot of people do that. And if there's something in parentheses here, this is what's called the apartment that the plugin has been loaded into. And you cannot unload plugins, but you can unload apartments. And so if a plugin, in this case, Festival Buddy 2, this is in the apartment Festival Buddy. So it is possible to unload the Festival Buddy apartment, which unloads any plugins that were loaded into it. But in this case, there was just one plugin that was loaded into that. To give you an example, since we only have one plugin right now, let me go ahead and download something else. Let's go ahead and add in the D Tracker plugin. Why not? So we'll go ahead and add that. And that's something that's not for me, right? So the More Map plugin, we'll go ahead and add that. Awesome. So remember, when you add or remove plugins, you need to hit that green arrow button. If LOTRO is running, it's not scanning that directory. And we're going to go ahead and load More Map. And we're going to go ahead and load D Tracker. And I wish I could remember one off the top of my head that doesn't use an apartment, but that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and do slash plugins space list again. And we can see there are 3 different plugin apartments loaded: the D Tracker, Festival Buddy, and More Map. And so while the plugin interface only has an unload all button, which is just what you get when you type slash plugins space unload, if you add in an optional parameter there, and I wonder if, is there a help? Yeah, there we go. Slash plugin space help, we can see plugins unload. They call it the script state. In other places you'll hear it called the apartment. That's an optional parameter that you can do, slash plugins space unload space, and let's do D Tracker. And we can see, oh, Agartha says buff bars. Awesome, thanks Agartha. I'm going to go ahead and load that up, just for contrast. But as we saw, I was able to unload seemingly one plugin. Under the covers, it's an apartment. Buff bars. Awesome, thanks. So we're going to go ahead and load. And load. Okay, sweet. So we're going to go ahead and do that again, slash plugins space list. And we can see, Agartha, buff bars does use an apartment, but I can fix that. So we're going to come into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, plugins. We're going to come on into buffbars.plugin. And what we're going to see here is that there is a configuration apartment vitals. If we just blow that away, we'll have to reload the plugin. But buff bars. So a plugin that doesn't have that configuration will not have anything in those parentheses after there. So just like other things, you can bind a chat command to unload a plugin to a specific quick slot if you really wanted to. You can also have a plugin that understands how to unload other apartments. So for the cures, you could have a plugin whose only job is to show you the apartments that are loaded and give you the option to unload them and make a nice little UI out of it. It might be that some of the other what's the name of that one? There's a meta plugin that deals with loading other plugins. Maybe it has that ability. Hey Arthur, what version of buff bars are you running on? Because I just downloaded 2.1.1. Okay, so we can see buff bars, nothing after it. So it is in the global apartment. The only way to unload that is to unload everything. But Festival Buddy is in the Festival Buddy apartment, so that can be unloaded. / plugins space unload space Festival Buddy. That one unloads, but the other ones that are loaded do not. So for anyone who is curious about that, when a plugin is loaded, everything about it, functions, variables, everything is loaded into an apartment, a separate memory space. But multiple plugins getting loaded into the same apartment means that it is non-trivial to then sort of sort out which things in that apartment belong to which plugin. So the only way to meaningfully get rid of that plugin is to unload the whole apartment, bringing everything in that plugin down. Sorry, everything in that apartment down, however many plugins that is. And by default, plugins all go into the general apartment. And I'm guessing at the time that this window was written, perhaps they hadn't introduced apartments, or they just didn't feel like it was a good cost-benefit trade-off to allow that sort of granularity for a kind of quasi-supported product. Like, plugins are supported in the sense that there's this in-game plugin manager, but it's not really the focus of the developer's SSG. They don't write or maintain the plugins, and the first thing they'll tell you if you're having a problem with the game is make sure you don't have any plugins loaded, because those could potentially be conflating an issue. So having the ability to unload apartments in this interface maybe was more confusing, because you're like, oh, I didn't want to unload that one, I just want to unload this one. Well, you can't technically do that. But they did give us the ability to unload apartments using the command line interface there. So yeah, technically you don't load a plugin in isolation, you load it somewhere, and that's the apartment. By default, everything loads into the same apartment as everything else, and so without having separate apartments, by default, to unload a plugin is to unload all the plugins in an apartment. When they all were in a single apartment, that meant there was just a load or an unload all option, and we're kind of missing that gray space where it's possible to unload an apartment. But if you know, and if the plugin supports it, or if you make the plugin support it, because again, let's say buff bars didn't have that, I can just come in here and give it an apartment. Add a configuration tag at the just under the plugin level. Give it an apartment name with whatever you want it to be, and just be aware that the more apartments you have loaded, the more memory commitment, I believe, that it takes for LOTRO to support those different apartments. So if you're on a restricted environment like a laptop, that might not be the best choice. But anything in an apartment can be unloaded. So if you would like the option to be able to unload a plugin that doesn't have an apartment, you can add it in. That's the great thing about plugin files, is you can modify them. Just be aware that any changes you make will be blown away the next time you download an update, if you're the type of person to update your plugins. So just, have a way to remember that you did the thing if that's important to you. Okay, awesome question. Thanks, F3, for popping that into chat. You say it'll solve a lot of time of reloading. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I hope that works for you. I'm kind of curious what the use case is of why you're finding it useful to unload a plugin in the middle of session. I guess the one I do that the most is the reminders plugin. If I'm about to do a bunch of crafting that I don't want it to set up automatic reminders for, I find it easier just to unload the reminders plugin, and then do the crafting and then load it back in. I gotta think there was a patch that may have removed the apartment definition from buff bars. Yeah, that can happen. So yeah, that's the one I do a lot. Is reminders is really good, and sometimes I want it to be tracking crafting things. But if I'm about to make like a bunch of unrelated items, unload reminders, do the things, load it back up. That's easier. Like there's also an option to tell it to stop, but then I have to remember to turn it back on. Patch from B4. Oh, I don't think I've done a patch for that for a while. But I could entirely have done that. All right, you got me curious though. Buff bars. I don't use buff bars. I use buff monitor. Sure. 2017. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. What is this thing? All right. 2-in-1 is 2013. Fair enough. My goodness. I said download. Okay. Let's take a look at this. I would say no, Agartha, because no, wait. I would say maybe. I missed it. Hey. Nope. Haha, it wasn't. I was going to say, normally if I'm preparing a patch file, I will clone whatever the original is. Let's just take a look at that right now, actually. So, Documents, Lord of the Rings Online plugins is where we're at. And so if I was doing this, I would have been selecting that left side over here, selecting this for the right side, and then bringing it into, this is Beyond Compare, my favorite file comparison utility. And we can see here that when I was modifying this, I added an image icon and also a version, but the configuration was there. Agatha says there's an apartment def for CA, but not for buff bars itself. I don't think I know what you mean by CA in this context. But I feel better. My buffbars.plugin file did not have any issues there. Okay, F3 says, just created an alias for the plugin I usually need to unload, and it works perfectly. Thank you a lot. Really, you're very welcome. I am curious if you're willing to share which plugin it is that you're choosing to unload in the middle of the session. Don't worry about it if you don't want to, but my curiosity is abuzz now. I don't even remember what this patch was. It definitely looks like I was including other fixes that people had done, though. Oh, the big thing was removing some local from things that were dying. Yeah. Okay. So most of these changes were incorporating that MAJ update and then fixing those things from poofing out of existence. I would love to take responsibility for the missing apartment, but I am not seeing it. No worries. Oh, okay. F3 says it's called Athelos. I feel like I've... Oh, okay. Well, now you've got me curious. I don't think I have played with the Athelos plugin. But I like hearing about cool plugins. Uniframes. Whoops. Yeah, that can happen. Okay. Oh, yeah. Right. This is what EXO was doing, and I think EXO has had less time for plugin development. They've also been doing, not Prime, Auras. And I think I saw on their Discord server that they haven't had as much time for LOTRO recently as they would like. Yeah, I can see where that's a pretty way to deal with it. And all right, let's go ahead and install Athelos. Wow. So we do a /plugins space list, and we can see Athelos does indeed have its own apartment. So /plugins space unload space Athelos, and it's gone, but buff bars is still loaded. So awesome. That's exactly what I would imagine you have done there, F3. So thanks very much for popping in and asking that. Okay. Bringing us back into Festival Buddy. And coming on in to here, we can see that the change that we made before going off on that tangent is working successfully. We have made a control. We've returned a different Y, and the height of this area all the controls are in is updated. Perfect. We're ready to go. So let's go ahead and close those on off. Get rid of that. Just simplify stuff going on here a little bit. Okay. So, what do we want? We want just what we said before. I didn't mean to close that. So let's go ahead and give a little context in here. Okay, so we're going to say a call to alert looks like this. Support message seconds show remaining time cool. So we want to start off with, let's go ahead and make this place, we're going to stop calling it test. This is just going to be the alert debug control. So test alert debug control. Awesome. And we're going to go ahead and set the width to be the width of options. And we can just see that at work here. If we load up Festival Buddy and then come back into the options, we can see now it takes up the whole width of the control that it's in. Awesome. This is now going to need to be taller, so we'll figure that out here. But that set width, instead of set width, let's go ahead and do a set size, and we'll start with that width, and we'll make it, I don't know, 100 pixels tall, just to give us some space to work with. Lemon chiffon is interesting, but it's a little blinding. How about something in the dark range? Dark orange, also known as brown. Awesome. So what we want is to go ahead and create a label for the section. And for that, let's go ahead and just steal that straight out. So we can see a place where I have kind of failed in the layout of this window is putting everything into the options thing instead of putting each thing into their own little control and then slapping that into the options. But doesn't mean we have to perpetuate that. So we're going to go ahead and fix this. This is going to be alert and debug label. And here we're going to go ahead and just say alerts. And instead of putting it into options, we're going to put it into the parent control here. But that means we don't actually need a position for it yet, because it's going to be the only thing of note in there. Okay, there we go, alerts. Looks kind of like the previous one. So what we want to do is, okay, we can see our y is increasing by okay, just sorting that out here. So we're separating out the idea of the options y, where this thing was, and how much space versus locally where things are within this control. So we're going to go ahead and just split those out, and now y is starting at 0 and then incrementing down as we get other things. So we can use that instead of being a little bit more explicit about where everything's positioned. Okay, so we want to provide 3 things, and this is, we're going to have labels for each of these. Let's go ahead and just copy these on out. And instead of the alert debug label, this first one is going to be the message label. Then we're going to have the seconds label. And then we're going to have the show remaining time label. Feels clunky, but it is what it is. Okay, so we want to go ahead and set the position of these to be indented a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and say message label set left, and I don't know, maybe 10. And we're now wishing we had done this before. We copied this and pasted it 3 times. But that's okay. And then finally, this is going to be message. This is going to be seconds. And this will be show remaining time. Now, that one we know is a yes/no at the moment. And so we can go ahead and probably have that be a checkbox. And then we'll want a button underneath here probably, but let's take a look and see what that looks like so far. Why has export got such a wonky version number? Sorry, I'm going to get distracted here. So, Lord of the Rings Online, plugins, and this is a Garen. So this is export. Nope, that's what it is in there. Okay, Garen, you were just being a silly person. I'm going to go ahead and delete that and that and that. And just streamline this a little bit. In fact, we're going to kill dtracker as well. It's silly. Okay, so we're back to just this. So coming on in here. And we can see that I missed the Y setting here. Okay. Oops. Okay, so we can see these things are not incrementing down. We're not using that Y value when we're setting the left. We just want to set the position. And that needs to be 10y, 10y, 10y. But we do want to go ahead and say that y equals an increment there. Let's give that a shot. Okay, that did not do what I wanted to do. Message is fine, except it's not where I want it to be. So set position, left and top, that's fine. We start with y equals 0. All these are going to the alert debug control. Set position is not there for the first one. That will certainly do a problem. And I'm guessing I did a copy paste problem. Yep. There we go. All right, let's try that again. There we go. Now we at least have some space for each of them. We might decide that 28 pixels isn't quite enough for these, given that we're also going to be having text box for 2 of them and a checkbox for another one. That's okay. It's gives us working space, and we can see we might need a little extra space because we want a button as well. So local show button equals. We're going to go ahead and parent this. And let's see, we want to set the text. Send alert. Show button, we want to set the position. This is going to be like, I don't know, 50. And y equals y plus, let's say 30. And then alert debug control, we can go ahead and just say set height to y. And it'll automatically be as tall as we need it to be. Let's take a look at that. Fantastic. We forgot to set the size of the button. That's going to be a cause of that truncation there. I don't actually know what size this button needs to be, and there are ways to have it kind of auto-size, but for now I'll just put some buttons, put some numbers in there and see how I feel about that. So 50 wasn't wide enough, might not have even been any wider than the default, or I am calling the wrong thing. I sure am, because I've got those things reversed. In fact, the height was okay. Let's just go ahead and set the width, and then we won't have that problem. So let's go back to 50 just to get a sense of how off we were. Yep, still off. There we go. 100 is fine. A little less could have maybe worked, but I like having a little bit of space on each side of the text. Okay, let's start adding in UI elements for accepting the stuff. And we're going to start with a text box for the message. So, in case we don't remember what that looks like, we can always go back to the API documentation. And we are looking at Turbine UI LOTRO text box. And it's just going to be, since it's derived from a control, it has everything control has. Oh, it's deriving from text box, right. What does this add then? What LOTRO look and feel? I feel like there's a way to look at just the things this thing has and not the things that are inherited. That'd be pretty cool, but I can't remember. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Safe to say most everything that you can do with it is inherited, and that's fine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make a text box. Local message text box equals turbine.ui.lotro.textbox. Remember to parent it. And then we're going to go ahead and just start by setting its position and see what that's like. We know we want it to be farther to the right than that message. I don't know what that looks like, so we're going to go with 50. And we want to move this Y increment after this section. And we're just going to go see what that is. Let's set multi-line to false to start with, because we don't want it to be multi-line. And we can see a couple of oddities here. It's too tall. So message, text box, set size. And let's go ahead and do something like, I don't know, 200 wide and 20 tall. Because the section what we're giving it is only 20 tall. And that's probably not going to be tall enough. Looking back at some other sections might give us some ideas. But like delay in seconds before complete items are removed, we can see that text box looks sufficiently tall. Oh, quest testing. Let's take a look at that. That text box is 30 tall and 300 wide. Let's go ahead and yoink that. Fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and set that to 330, which means we need to update this Y to accommodate that. Okay. One thing we can see is that this isn't vertically centered, and the other thing is it's too far to the left. So let's go ahead and fix one of those at least. Message text box. We're going to go ahead and scooch that over. Let's start at 100, and we can go ahead and move it up by 10. Is 10 the right amount? Looks pretty good. Looks centered vertically. But we can see now we're in kind of getting a little close to the title here. So we're going to go ahead and say alert itself has a height of 30 and give it a little bit more space. Great. Okay. In fact, maybe all of these should just be 30. 20 was maybe a little optimistic, if that's the right word. Great. That gives things a little bit more space. It's so weird seeing a text box with that dark orange background. I'm so used to it having kind of a blackish background, but yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Also, I can see message and sections and show time, remaining time. They're not indented the way I mentally thought they were going to be. Let's take a look at that real fast. Message label, set position. Oh, because this was indented by 10. That will certainly do that. And then I actually think I want these to be indented by 20 anyway. Great. Perfect. So we're going to come back in. The next one is seconds. If this were a user-facing control, I might try to be a little bit cleverer, but it's kind of on us to make sure we only do numbers. And we can at least have a callback after the value is changed to check to see if it's a number. But we don't need to do anything much beyond that. So we're going to go ahead for seconds. We're going to get a message box as well, or text box. And this is going to be seconds text box. Other than that, though, it's going to be very similar. It's not multi-line. We don't need it to be that big, but maybe we'll make it 100 wide. Position is fine. Just gotta go ahead and kill this extra Y increment. Very good. And let's take a look. Okay, that gives us seconds right after our message. And then show remaining time. Let's not even bother with a box. We're just going to be a checkbox instead of a text box. And so for that, we're looking for turbine.ui.lotro.checkbox. All right. Yeah, I guess I don't have to drag that off screen. I can just go ahead and leave it like that. Okay. So, local show checkbox equals turbine.ui.lotro.checkbox. Remember that we do want to parent that show checkbox. Looks like they do a capital B. Set parent. Okay. You know what? This whole thing could have been a checkbox. Except, sure gotta make that change where it's supposed to be. And not change the button. Alright, so this is gonna be show remaining time checkbox. Okay. So, get rid of the show, the colon there. Let's just go ahead and see what that looks like. Seconds, that. Why is that happening? Seconds label, y equals that. Casper is begging for some food. It's very cute. Which I assume it is. It's not him staring into my face. Or it's not me whose face he's staring into. Alright, let's do something contrasting here. Oh yeah, he's going for it. Oh, okay. So the default height of this thing is super big. So we'll start off with a width of 200, and we'll just narrow that down to like a height of 20 or something, maybe 25. I guess 30, since it's centering itself nicely. Okay, that looks fine. But you know what? I think it's too much. I know this feels like a lot of time to spend on something that's only going to be seen by me, well, and all of you, but I feel like I don't do very good UI layout design, so I try to take the advantage to practice it when I can, even if it's just for an audience of me, so that the next time I have to do it for realsy, maybe I'll do a better job. Okay, so we can see, thanks to coloring it, or not coloring in this case, what was up. The one thing I will say is that we're going to go ahead and pop a little extra room between those message boxes. And other than that, we're good. So we're going to go ahead and undo these background colors that are oh so vibrant. So we can go back to our standard debug color of blue. There we go. Okay, so we have the message, we have how many seconds, we have show remaining time or not, and we have send alert. And now we just need to actually connect these up. So what we want to do is two things. That seconds text box, we want to go ahead and hook into some sort of a callback that lets us fix it if it's not a number. So let's go ahead and start with local seconds equals 5. And we're going to go ahead and start by seconds text box setting a known good value in here. And then let's have a callback, seconds text box dot, and then we need something. So what we want to do is look at this text box members. We're looking at the events, and what we want to do is focus lost, probably. And we're just going to go ahead and spit that out to the console here, or the standard chat channel, so that we can double check kind of what we think we're doing with that. So, seconds, I click out of it. All right, we got the focus lost. Tab out of it? No. Well, what if I check that? Okay, focus lost. That seems pretty reasonable. Focus lost. Awesome. Send alert. Yep, we get the focus lost then. Okay. So what we're going to do is in this function, we are going to, hey, we have 22 raters from Liam H. Hello and welcome to Plugging Along, where we are talking about the Festival Buddy 2 plugin for Lord of the Rings Online. Okay, so what we want to do is we already had the value that we set, which was seconds. So we want to go ahead and say local new value equals new seconds equals two number of seconds. No, sorry, two number of seconds, text box get text. Fishy in chat also says hello from that raid. Hello. So we have the new seconds. If it parsed correctly, then seconds equals new seconds end. So we just want to save that off. And in fact, let's go ahead and get a sense of when that is happening. So we're going to go ahead and write another debug statement as standard. Accepting new value of new seconds. Okay, so let's go ahead and load that in. And come on back into here. So seconds. If we type in 590, accepting new value, 590A, we don't get it. But we didn't clear this. And what we want to do is, if that, then else, we want to go ahead and say seconds text box set text to seconds. We want to revert to a known good. And remember, we didn't get a call to string on that. Okay, so I type in 5A. I click somewhere else. It just goes back to 5. I type in A. I come back here, it goes back to the last known good value. Type in 50, awesome. Type in 50A, goes back to the last known good value. Okay, 50. Can you not change your keyboard focus with other things? I guess not. Cool, so now we have just some sensibility logic here. It's not a huge deal. One thing I don't know is the order of operations. Do we get a lost focus and then a click? Probably. Let's go ahead and get a click handler going. So show button, click equals, we're going to go ahead and do anonymous function, taking sender and args, and go ahead and turbine shelled right line just to show where we are. Not that this is necessarily definitive, but I would like to see that the ordering looks good for this purpose. All right, so we go ahead and load this on up. Type in 50, accepting new value 50, click. All right, 50J. Did I forget to actually type in a thing? Yeah. Turbine.shell.writeLine rejecting value of all right. We're referencing the same function call twice, which normally I'd want to save that off to a variable, but we're going to be deleting these output statements anyway, so no biggie. All right, so 5J, send. We can see rejecting value, then show button, click. That makes sense. That's the ordering that I would want and expect from a UI system. But it is nice to verify. Okay, so send, rejecting that value, and we go back to 50, and then we get the click. Perfect. Again, it's not meant to be foolproof, but it is meant to be reasonably suspicious that if we get to the click handler, we will have a meaningful value in seconds, and we just got to be safe for, so that I don't fat finger a number and get an error message or something. Okay, so get rid of those statements there. And what we want to do is exactly what it says on the tin. We want to go ahead and call alert. So so we're going to go ahead and do message text box and get text. We are going to go ahead and do seconds text box and get text. But we'll go ahead and do that as to number. In fact, we don't even need to do that. We can just do seconds. And that's in place of seconds to show. Show remaining time. Show remaining get checked is checked. Awesome. And then a callback, don't care, nil. Alert cancellation token, for now, also nil. But we might go ahead and add a cancel button here. You know what? We'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and load this up. So message, this is a message. 5, send. This is a message, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's gone. Now if we want to go ahead and show that remaining time, we can see the remaining time there. Awesome. But here's the problem, is if we go ahead and put 20 here, send that alert, and then we do another one that's just, 10. For a moment, we can see them overlapping, and then the garbage collector comes and cleans up the old one. So you get a non-deterministic coexisting of the two of them for some amount of time before garbage collector just frees up the old one, gets rid of it. So put it on for 60 seconds. Actually, that should have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on for 60 seconds, but it's okay. 2, we'll go ahead and do for 5 seconds, and we can see the old one vanished. It only took a couple seconds, not bad for garbage collection. Or whatever similar mechanism is causing it to go away. Okay, so let's go ahead and build ourselves a cancel button. It's going to look a lot like this show button. Local cancel button equals turbine.ui.lotro.button. And we're going to go ahead and make sure we parent it. Set parent. Yep, that's fine. Alert. Debug control. And then cancel button, set text. Never guess, cancel. It could even be cancel alert if we want to be a little bit more explicit with our information. We're going to set that position. Instead of 75, we know this thing is 100 wide, so let's set it to 200. And then we need to stop typing show button when we need to cancel. Cancel button dot click equals function sender args, and then cancel. We'll write the actual, oops. I gotta stop hitting the page down button when I don't mean to. Okay, let's go ahead and see that in action. Cancel alert, we see cancel there, awesome. Send alert. Funny thing is, we're allowing us to send an alert even if there's no message. Let's go ahead and put a message in there just so we get something reasonable by default. Message text box, set text, sample message. And you know what? Let's go ahead and set the remaining checkbox. Let's default it. Show remaining check. Set checked. It's so weird to me that it's set checked, but it isn't get checked. It's is checked. And I feel like that was an unnecessary diversion from how everything else works. Okay, and we know there's a cancel alert function, so we'll just call that. See how that goes. Okay, so let's come on back in here. We have a sample message. Send that alert. If we cancel it, it goes away right away. Awesome. Send an alert for 105 seconds, sample message. Gotta say, that default color is a little rough. But that's why alerts can change that. So RGB equals FF. Oh, we've got to do it differently. Interesting. There's this message text box. Set, nope. Set markup enabled. True. Maybe. I don't know if that means if it'll accept it, but it might. And let's go double check the actual formatting. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And then, and RGB. There we go. Okay. It can be done. Oh, I didn't hit the pound sign there. I wonder. We're going to go ahead and unload that. Just save that off there. Okay, now I'm curious. If we disable the markup, but then do it with one that we know worked. Okay, I must have, you know, I think it was the pound symbol probably. Yep, there we go. One octothorpe missing. Okay, did not need it. Okay, so now we have the ability to demonstrate the problem. Yeah. So, what are we going to do about it? Now that we can test it, now that we can poke at it, what are we going to do? So the simplest thing that I had thought, well, actually, let's back up a sec. Let's go ahead and come on into Festival Buddy and save off what we're doing here. So, added ability to generate alerts to debug options. That's all of that. Okay. Now we have a clean working directory. So, well, what I want to do is review how alerts is currently working and make some decisions based off of that. So the first thing we can see is we're creating a class, creates an alert window, a short message displayed on the center of the screen to inform the user of something. I guess in my ideal world, because the plugin kind of determines when one of these is displayed, if a new one comes in, I think I would like it to just show underneath the previous one. And if a third one comes in while those two are visible, show underneath that. And as these expire, I would like each other one to move up the height of that expiring one. That's sort of the minimum change that I'm envisioning for this kind of a bare bones alert feature. Like, there's no way to clear these things. So you don't want it to be too spammy and cover up the whole screen. So I might even say there'd be a maximum. Like, if you get a fourth alert that the first one expires and you can only see 3 or something, maybe it's configurable. Maximum number of alerts on screen or something. Matt Fear says, sounds nice, thank you. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So let's take a look at this. We have a class that we're defining. Not sure what empty alert is up to here. Okay, it's a meta table, looks like. Fascinating. This looks like a manual way of doing class style stuff, and maybe it predated the class libraries that come with the turbine files now. Okay, so we have a constructor, which takes a message, duration, show remaining time, callback, cancellation token, all the things that we are expecting based off of the calling side. And these are not all original to this class. I know I've definitely been mucking about in here as Festival Buddies' needs have evolved. Okay, so we have the message window. And you know what? One of my favorite things to do to figure out what's going on is just set the background color to something obvious. So this will be turbine.ui.color.something. What's a nice color? How about light steel blue? Nice. Okay, so we're going to come on in here and we're going to load this up and we're going to generate an alert. Okay, so that window's bigger than I was expecting. And I think that's because the label will automatically resize to a certain point. So if I go ahead and just paste a bunch of those, we can see the label's resized, and in fact, maybe it was always the same size as this window, and so it just kind of word wraps as necessary. So if you have a huge thing to display, it's probably going to have enough room for it. In fact, let's go ahead and do some more. There we go. Okay. Is that a problem? I don't know. Okay. But that's the first thing we have, is we have the window, and then we have a label. We can see that we are setting the size to the results of message window get size, which is interesting. I feel like I've tried this syntax before, and it just truncated down to the first returned value and then didn't properly fill in the results to that function. And so just out of curiosity, we're going to do window size. And that's going to be message window get width by message window get height. Okay. But then we're going to do the same thing with the message label, just to get a sense of it. And we'll do it twice, one before and one after it gets set. So this is label size before. And my goodness, I probably should have done this before copy pasting. That's okay. Label size after. There we go. Yeah, just convince me that that syntax works. I'm convinced. All right. I don't know if I've done it differently or incorrectly, but I was a little concerned about that. Seems fine. That's the only call to set size in this list of calls. Yeah, okay. So, we're doing a foreground color, an outline color. Nice. I did notice the outline. We have markup enabled, so we can change the color. Also, awesome. Multi-line is interesting. I didn't even think about that. Well, now you got me curious. All right, set multi-line to false. Message text box. Let's see that. Sample, enter, message. Yeah, all right. Looks like it's automatically centering it. Now, if I do a new line there, I'll get the time on its own line, right? Interesting. Do I care about that? Guess I'll leave it as an option. Alert allows multi-line messages. Okay. Coming back in here. Nope. What do we have? We have the window. We have the label. Is canceled. All right. If cancellation token is not equal nil, then oh, that's highly suspicious. We're assigning to the cancel function of the cancellation token, but we're not using any of the multi-dispatch tools. Yeah, Meffer, he uses this plugin in the alert stack right now. Sometimes we need the mayor and drug guest quest at the same time. Exactly the problem that the streamer before me, Little Redhead, was seeing, and the inspiration for me wanting to address this. Now, this doesn't come up a lot in most any festival, but this festival, every time it's come up in recent times, I've been aware of the limitations of the alert system. So I'm glad to get a chance to take a look at it. Let's take a look at the alert cancellation token. What is this? This is in chat logger. If we reset it, cool. When we call cancel alert, we say if it has a cancel, then cancel. But the problem is we really want add callback and its ilk. So we really wanted to use add callback. First of all, so let's fix that. So add callback, we're looking at something that looks like this. Add callback, the object is on cancellation token. The event is cancel, and the callback is this. But that only works if we're conscientious about how we use it. So we also need to remove callback after we've called cancel. Remove callback, and this is the alert cancellation token. Wait, no. Okay, all of this is... We're going to do callbacks. Alert cancellation token, cancel. That should be gone. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so if we go ahead and send that alert, and send another one, why not? And then cancel. Oh, that's interesting. Let's just start with a single one. Send and cancel. Okay. Send and cancel. Send, cancel. Send, cancel. Okay, something's... The way we're currently handling multiple messages is weird, but it was already weird. So, if we send and we cancel, that's fine. That is working. But you know, I feel like a local variable here, lambda captured though it probably is, would make more sense to me if we did something different. Oh, this whole thing is animate alert. Right. You know, I look at this and I feel like I've gone off track here. But that's why we have source control. So we're going to go ahead and undo that. And undo that. And just make a note to ourselves later. Let's go into our to-do file. Note, current system for whatever this is called, alert cancellation token. Overwrites the dot cancel should use add callback. Okay, we'll just deal with that later. Also, I feel like this should live in the alert. Actually, cancellation token should be somewhere else, that class, but that's okay. It was just a very homegrown attempt to make a cancellation token. Okay, so we have the constructor here. And in the constructor, we make some things, and then we call animate alert. With that window, the label, some parameters that I don't understand why we're getting it. We can make it move around. All right, I'm game. Get left times 2 and get top times 2. Huh. Is that useful? I mean, it's a freebie, so I guess why not? I don't think you would do that at diagonal, but I guess I could see it floating up, right? Like, okay, so not the left, but just like minus the get top, right? Zoop. just like that. Or more likely, times 0. So if you had a 5-second alert that you were trying to kind of just scroll up the screen like that. Of course, for a 60-second alert, I don't know, that might be kind of infuriating. That's fascinating. Obviously, we're not making use of that right now. It's fun discovering things I didn't realize were even there. Okay, what else do we have? Start opacity, finish opacity. So we start at 1, we go to 0, and we have the duration. Now, for the opacity, there's a percent before fade parameter. Where does this come from? Okay, so we've got to be 80% complete before we start to fade out. And that makes sense for short times. If it's a 5-minute thing, you're going to be fading out for a while. That's okay. Previous update time, precision string, animate control. So we make a new control whose whole purpose is to want updates. And in its update function, it will do things. Is this unnecessarily complex? Why don't we have an update function in the actual thing? Okay, in animate alert, we make. Oh, this is a global here. Why are these things? Oh, this is local. Local message, cool. Local message label. Animate control. Why is this global? Local. Let's see what happens. I mean, I know why it happens. It needs to persist. Ah! If I make it local there, it dies. I assume. You know what? Let's just confirm while we are hypothesizing. Yep. Okay. So animate control needs to live somewhere so it can persist. And because it's holding these other things, that control and that label that were created locally here, they will persist. And that's lovely. Let's ignore the cancellation thing for now. So we need to store this somewhere. A global table sounds fine. So we would want this to be active alerts equals. This is going to be a table. I don't think we're concerned about reentrancy. Yeah, I think we're basically acting as if we're a single-threaded environment. So my thought is to just, when we make an alert, we're going to go ahead and insert the animate control into this table. And we'll just use the length of the table as its unique number. So local alert number equal. Is that reasonable? Let's try it. Alert number equals the number of active alerts plus 1. So we'll go ahead and say that this is a local animate control. We'll even say animate control dot number equals alert number. And we are going to go ahead and active alerts of alert number equals animate control. Now, we're not done because we need this thing to remove itself from there. And so we can go ahead and kill it at this point. So when we're canceled, active alerts of this number equals nil. Are holes in the table going to be a problem? I think no, because if 2 is missing, we'll get a length of 1, which means we should fill 2 in anyway. I think that's fine. Okay. So, what does that look like? Send alert. Well, it persists. Send alert. Send alert. You know, that lovely background, I can't tell what's going on. Let's come fix that. So we're going to get rid of that light steel blue, which is otherwise lovely. And come back in. Okay, so we have the 5-second one, sample message 2. Now let's go to 15. Sample message 2. Sample message 3. I think those are both persisting now. Yeah. Okay, so we can have multiple messages. That's awesome. Now, these numbers that we're using, and we can only cancel one of them. Yeah, okay. These numbers that we're using aren't great. So active alerts count equals 0. So we just need to increment and decrement this if we want to avoid having to count all of them at the same time. So active alert counts equals that plus 1. No plus plus in Lua land. And then when we remove it down here, active alerts equals that minus 1. Now, if this is so precarious that we really need to do this, we should probably wrap this up in functions. So, function add active alert is going to take a thing, and then function remove active alert. And so that's going to be a thing, okay, as the control. Control, and its unique number let's have the function be responsible for this as well. Add active. So it'll only take the control and control. So we're going to get an alert number equals the number of sequential items plus 1. We are going to go ahead and pull in all of this, probably. So that's the control.number equals this alert number. Active alerts equals this control, and we'll increment the count. Awesome. So at that point, we can just call add active alert, animate control. So number that gone. And then down here, we know we want to do that. But the alert number we don't actually need because we know where we stored it. So we can say local alert number equals control.number, and active alerts equals nil, decrement the count. Awesome. Let's do a remove active alert down here. And that is
whatever this thing was. Animate control. There we go. So, without that, we can see alert number is no longer needed. Awesome. So, we have now a pretty reliable count of how many of these we have. Therefore, we can make use of that I am contemplating the fact that because this isn't a first in, first out system, what we've designed here isn't going to give us that flexibility of putting things in different locations on the screen and then moving them around. But instead of that, what if we just use its number as an offset how far down the screen? So the third message will always be in slot 3. The first one will always be here. The second one's always there. Maybe that's fine for our purposes here. So in that sense, nope. We can use control.number as sort of an index into visual slots. So animate alert. We have an animate control. We're going to set the top equal to something. So start Y. Once we have that number, yeah, okay. Local alert slot equal animate control dot number. And what we're going to do is say that start X equals alert slot times where's the size of this thing? Times 100. Times 100 plus start. That should be start Y anyway. And finish Y. Should that be offset? Yeah, let's do that, I suppose. Whatever animation it does, it'll be proportional. Okay, so for that, maybe that's enough. So if we do a sample message, we get 2 of them. Interesting. Now, I kind of feel like they need to start higher up. And so I feel like this thing's position, let's go ahead and get those on different lines so we can see them. The vertical one, I think we're 1 offset, and I think that is not helpful. Yeah, that one. Yeah? You're just going to rub all over the airframes? Yeah. Hey. Hey, come here. I'll show you to the world, or at least a online portion of it. Come here. Yeah, you could just rub against the fan. That's fine. Oh well. Okay. We've gone ahead and made a 0 offset instead of 1. that first alert is up there. And I would say that's a reasonable thing to do, given that we're not currently expecting too many simultaneous messages. Hi. Come here. I know you hate this. I think you're on my microphone. You better be crying. Nope, you're all done. Okay. Thank you. You're very filthy. Where have you been? Okay. So send. 3, 4. Now we can see the problem with this is eventually this system would just scroll off the screen. I'm sorry, that's one of the problems. The other problem is we'll go back to the cancellation thing. But for this system, I think that's actually fine. And we revert back up here when those things expire and they remove themselves from that table. That slot becomes free again. So we'll go ahead and put that back to 5 seconds and send an alert, send an alert, send an alert. Why is that first one not coming back to us? There it is. That is a long feeling delay. That's fascinating. Good enough, though, I think, for our purposes. Okay, so we can support now multiple messages as long as we don't get too many at the same time. But we want to go ahead and also deal with the callback issue. Okay, space out multiple alerts that come in while another alert is active. Space out new alerts that come in while another alert is active. Okay. So we have that. We just, I don't even think that was worth keeping in and of itself. Where'd it go? This one. That was really just so I could read it, and while I think it was a good change, we're going to deal with that later. Okay, steel blue, go away. Okay, I think I'm tempted to have this return that number instead of having to grab it. Return control.number -1. Okay. Let's go ahead and document these things. Adds animating alert to the global table. Removes an animating alert from the global table. Okay, that is a control. We do return a number. Maybe it's an integer. That's fine. It can be more specific. That is a control. Excellent. So let's go take a look at that. So we can just say local alert slot equals that. And, oh yeah, so this should have a return. How do we do that? Yeah, I think that's that. A zero-based index usable to adjust on the screen elements. Sure, why not? Okay, tooltip is good. Let's go back to source control. Yep, we do want that. We want that. Okay, so animate control becomes a local. We go ahead and save off that alert slot after adding the active alert, and we adjust those start wise and finish wise appropriately. So we're going to stage that, and then we need to remove that active alert. All right. What is this? I would like it better like that. Okay. Allow multi-line messages and testing alerts. Okay. We're going to go ahead and accept that. I was hoping we'd have time to get to the other big thing I wanted to do, which is the barter window tree view. But I think I will try to make sure the cancellation system works for multiples of these. And at that point, I think we'll probably be out of time today. So if I don't get to it sometime this week, then next week on the stream, we'll be converting the barter window from this list view to a tree view with collapsible sections. Maybe I don't care about Dill Goodchild. And if that goes smoothly, I would also love some sort of filtering ability. Maybe textual, only show me things that have the word emote in them. Maybe functional. Maybe we'll be able to tag things as being cosmetic pets or something. That might be a little bit more than we have available to us, but I would love a textual search function. If I'm looking for a kite, then I don't want to see anything else. Or if I'm looking for a jacket, only show me a jacket. And yeah, the ability to collapse sections or even entire vendors, I'm very much looking forward to that. Okay, so let's look at that callback system, and I'm a little sad that I just deleted it, but I think that was the right thing to do. Okay, so if we have a cancellation token, then add callback, and that's cancellation token, cancel, and I mean, we can just start with this function. And then here, no. Is that the only reference there? Yep. Is canceled is already being handled. So that cancellation token is always being passed with what? No, it's coming into here, the alert. Okay. So alert cancellation token. I am curious if do callbacks handles that. Object. No, we immediately. Yeah, you got to make sure that's not nil. Okay. Alert cancellation token cancel. Int. So that's that. So that's cancel alert. In here, I'm sorry, in alert, we have the cancellation token. We added the callback, but we do need to remove the callback. Well, we want to remove the callback. Do we? For that, we would need a name for this function, wouldn't we? Let's go ahead and at least declare that. And then if that, we can remove this. Okay, so here, when we are done, then we are going to remove callback. Okay, let's see if any of that works. Awesome. It loads. Let's go ahead and do a 15-second and send. Those have ticked along for a little while, and then cancel. Oh, that's so good. I love it when a plan comes together and all that. Okay, and right away, send, cancel. That's lovely. Okay, so if we go ahead and let it time out, though. Send. Oh, that did come back. Fascinating. There's like a little delay there. What's going on? If game time is greater than or if it's canceled, then once update is false, label is false, message window is false, callback. It's not nil, then we'll call it back. Set the thing to what is control? Is that the animation? Yeah. Set visible, remove active alert, and that removes it from the table. Okay, I think it's just a question of taking a moment or two for the garbage collector to really notice it. That's fine. Maybe. I mean, it removes it. It sets that to nil. It feels like that should come into play right away. Oh well. Okay, so we have a system whereby there can be multiple message alerts, and those alerts will all be canceled when the cancel alert is called. Now that's actually a problem because we might want a more granular system where only relevant messages alerts are canceled. I don't think we're going to get to that today, though. That would require a little bit more complex of a system because of this nesting thing where when you make an alert, the creation of that alert makes a window and a label, which then passes off to another thing, which is this opaque, this kind of hidden control, which is the animating control, and it is now in charge of showing these things or not. So I think there'd have to be a better indexing system for talking about these things, maybe. We might still be able to use these numbers, but a problem with them is that if you have a number 3 and you don't realize it's been expired, it's going to be replaced with the next thing that comes along. You could be talking about the wrong one. So we'll want a better way of identifying them, maybe. But I think this solves the basic problem. And to demonstrate that, let's go ahead and go get boundary rounds and the mayor. Stop eating. I want your request. There we go. So we can see quite a squirrel popped up there. Taste a munchroom. Go, 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 mayor, you know what they say. I want you to eat something so I can see what you say. Pig's judge. Come on. Old bad Megans. What's up with the mayor? Oh, there we go. Okay. Use wine. Something like that would do nice now. Fresh licked vegetables. Awesome. So we're able to see both of those. Now, unfortunately, chat bubbles go away kind of fast. quite a quarrel. Nope. Quite a squirrel. Missed it. Fresh licked vegetables. 1, 2, 3. So yes, I'm a fan of getting all 3 of those off of a single drunk hobbit, and when possible. Ha ha ha, use wine. Where is the ha ha ha? I missed it. Oh, here it is. Oh, wrong one. That one. Quite a squirrel. My goodness. Oh, that was enough of them. Waste the victuals. Don't actually care about that anymore. Use wine. Wow. Just the mayor is getting sloshed. Okay. Okay, so what we've seen is that exactly as we'd hoped, the various hobbits, different things, are not overlapping each other and not interfering with the mayor. And we're also not seeing more than maybe 3 of them on screen at a time, so the fact that we just would kind of scroll off the screen if we got too many of them isn't coming into play. And that is excellent. So, how is our working directory here? Fixed. Alert callback. Oh, hey. Use butter. I can do that. Bam. Can you do it multiple times? No. Okay. Fixed alert. Cancellation. Callback. Okay. So that is now add callback. That's added in the remove callback. I guess the to-do file has become out of date. And the chat logger also does do callback. Fantastic. Salt. Can I use it multiple times? I cannot. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's really cool. I've been meaning to poke my nose in to the alert system for Festival Buddy for some time now. I wanted to do something. And I did like the idea of like the messages moving up, but messages that do not move is in some ways a little bit more user friendly. It just, wherever it is, it's going to be there until it goes away. And I do like that. Milk. All right, super easy.
Hello.
Okay. Well, that feels like a solid enough solution that we'll be able to ship it, and it's not everything I would hope and dream of, but it's definitely a solid step in the right direction. One doesn't overwrite another one. If there's 2 or 3 hobbits active at a time, you'll be able to distinguish that. Hobbits and mayors can be done without it colliding. All of this is great stuff. So, next up on my agenda, like I said, fixing that barter window. However, I don't feel like that's a strong functionality thing, so I'll aim to do a release of Festival Buddy in its current state for anyone who's using it this Farmers Faire, and then that barter window, we just keep getting more and more barter items, and so I'm concerned, A,
if it is impacting the amount of time it takes to load the plugin. But B, it just makes finding something on here is slightly easier than anywhere else, but it's still not easy. And at least a search box would be nice. Just a textual match of, is there a tome in here, that kind of thing. So that'll be what we're working on next, but I don't feel like we need to hold up a release for that. Cool. Alright, just checking chat for any last minute things that might have come in, and I'm not seeing any of those. And alright, I got no more notes. So that is everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you here next week. And until then, keep plugging along. Alright, bye-bye now.